What's going to be the better deal, buying a new construction home or a resale house? And ultimately, what's going to be the better investment? Today, I'm going to give you a real life example. We're going to compare buying a new construction house at One Lake versus a resale home in the established neighborhood of Paradise Valley. Side by side, we'll look at monthly payments. We'll compare potential hidden costs for both types of housing, as well as ultimately which is going to be the better investment. Regardless of where you're considering buying new construction, you need to watch this video. Hey there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Erika Monroe. I'm a realtor in the Bay Area and I specialize in Solano County. In order for us to figure out which is the better deal, new construction or resale, we need to start by comparing monthly payments side by side. So let's start with One Lake. And if you remember, this is a beautiful master plan community located in Fairfield, California. There are a handful of different builders offering expansive homes on more quaint lots, but you do have some incredible amenities that are planned in the future. Now, one of the builders, TriPoint, is offering the Splash neighborhood, the Plan 2X, which features 4 to 5 bedrooms, 3 to 4 bathrooms, about 2,500 square feet of living space, priced at $784,900. Now, in order for us to calculate the total monthly payment, we're going to use a mortgage calculator. I'm going to assume that we're going to place a 10% down payment. Next, we'll input today's rate, which is between 6.5% and 6.9%. Now, just like most new construction communities, the property taxes are higher at One Lake. They're around 1.685% according to TriPoint's website. Now, your homeowner's insurance is actually going to be quite affordable. New construction homes generally have a lower premium for homeowner's insurance because you're starting with new everything. Now, HOAs are going to be somewhat substantial here. They'll range anywhere from $150 up to about $218. Most often, I see it hovering right around $170. Overall, our monthly payment is going to be $6,055. Now let's compare this to buying a resale home in the beautiful Paradise Valley, which is a golf course community. It was established in the late 90s and continued to build up until about 2014. This is predominantly an HOA community. There are some pockets that don't actually have an HOA, but HOA folks do have access to amenities such as an outdoor swimming pool and tennis court. Now I found a similarly priced home with similar square footage, bedroom and bath count. It's priced actually a little bit higher, but let's say we were able to negotiate the price down to the same $784,900. We'll use 10% down. Today's rate, property taxes are right around 1.2% for Paradise Valley. And insurance is generally more expensive for a resale home than it is new construction. I saw a recent quote for a client hovering right around $2,500 for this size of homes. HOA fees on average are right around $47 a month. So the monthly payment difference between new construction and resale was $341 a month or $4,092 a year. So far it looks like new construction is more expensive for a similar sized home. You might say, well, what about all the builder incentives? That's such a big attraction of new construction right now. So let's consider them. Many builders are offering to include solar into the purchase price, and that's a $15,000 to maybe $25,000 value. You might also be able to ask for closing cost credit or money to buy down the interest rate. If you remember, I've talked about a 2-1 buy down. It allows you to use the builder's money to buy down the interest rate by 2% the first year you have your mortgage. You'll buy it down by 1% the second year you have your mortgage. And that third year, you'll resume today's rates unless you've refinanced your loan. So the total upfront savings from that 2-1 buy down is going to be right around $16,400. Now, asking a resale seller to meet those incentives is going to be tough. They don't have the same deep pockets that a builder does. However, it's not uncommon to see owned solar as part of the price point for resale homes. So let's consider that a wash. But in order to ask a seller to provide enough closing cost credit to allow you to buy down that interest rate, you're going to have to ask for at least $15,000. And that would require a very motivated seller and likely a house that has sat on market for far longer than the average days on market. It's not uncommon. I would say right now, new construction is probably going to yield you the most upfront savings, and possibly by about $15,000. Let's move on to potential hidden costs. When you buy a new construction house, you will probably receive a beautifully landscaped front yard, but your backyard is going to be a blank canvas. It'll be essentially a dirt lot, no irrigation, no foliage. It's up to you to turn that into a functional backyard, or more money to turn it into the backyard of your dreams. For a backyard at one lake, you'd probably be working with 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, so not substantial. But for a minimal investment, you'd probably be looking at about $6,000. For a moderate investment in landscaping and possibly irrigation, you'd be looking closer to $16,000. So new construction homes also do not have any blinds or window treatments, and that's usually built into the HOA as a requirement. That's something you'll want to take care of. Plus, if the homes are close together, you don't necessarily want to be dining or bathing with your neighbor. So it's probably going to be a cost that you'll take on pretty quickly after closing. Average cost, you're probably looking somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. Just keep in mind, if your house has more windows or larger or unique size windows, that price will probably increase. For resale, you'll typically start with some sort of landscaping, especially right now since it's a little harder for sellers to sell. They have more competition. They want to spruce up their back and front yards. So probably you're going to start with some landscaping and oftentimes a built-in irrigation system. It still could take money to turn it into the backyard of your dreams. So let's say that cost would be maybe about $5,000. Most likely you're going to have blinds or window treatments already built in. So definitely resale is going to be a more cost-effective option as far as these hidden costs. Now, what about maintenance and repairs? That's a whole nother story. With new construction, and yes, even though it's a brand new home, it will cost money to maintain and over time do repairs. You can probably plan for 0.5% to 1% of the property's value spent on repairs and maintenance. With resale, you're probably going to have to project for between 1% and 3% of the home's value. You're not necessarily going to spend 3% every year, but eventually you'll have to replace the HVAC and the roof and other systems. So averaged out, you can project for anywhere between 1% and 3% of the home's value. So ultimately, which is going to be the best investment over time? I actually think it just comes down to the community and not necessarily whether it's new construction or resale. Let me explain what I mean. If a community has high taxes and high HOA fees, in my opinion, that's going to cap your ability to grow your home's value. Because when you go to sell, a buyer who comes in is probably going to require financing, and they have to consider the high property taxes and HOA fees into their monthly budget, which does not leave much room for an expensive home. If, for example, a buyer has a $5,000 budget, but they have to spend $1,300 on property taxes and HOA, that only leaves $3,700 for a housing budget. A $3,700 housing budget only allows for a home price of about $640,000, which means you won't be able to charge a substantial amount for your home. That's probably going to hinder your home's value from growing. So that's really important to keep in mind. And that's not isolated just to new construction. That could be for resale homes as well. For new construction, if you're planning to only be there for less than 5 years, the builder may still be selling new homes. So suddenly you're in competition with the builder. And as we discussed before, they generally have deeper pockets to offer better incentives, and the home values are probably not going to be substantially different. So if you're planning to only live there for 5 years or so, new construction is probably not going to be a better investment for you. When comparing that to a resale community such as Paradise Valley, where you have relatively low taxes, very low HOA, it's maintained its ability to command value over several different markets, and they're still able to command similar or higher price points to new construction. So if you have a community like Paradise Valley, even though the homes are going to be 25, 30 years older, it's already proven that it can maintain and increase its value. There are some exceptions. There are new construction communities that have no HOA or a very low HOA, plus pretty comparable taxes to resale, then my money may be on that new construction community. Because you have a newer product, but you're not hindered by these high price points, it may allow a future buyer to spend more money on the mortgage as opposed to spending it on property taxes and HOA fees. If you're considering new construction versus resale, reach out to me and let's discuss what's most important to you and what will be your best bet.